we weren't really planning on doing a podcast tonight until we got here. So I have 4 things written down.
Perfect. Let's talk.
2 of them are
about
related
Chris.
to each other. First, I'm gonna grab.
Hold on. Do we got to introduce ourselves every time?
We probably should, since the last time we released the podcast was like a year ago. So
Whose fault's that?
that's my fault.
Whose fault's that?
My name is Chris, and it is my fault that we have not released a podcast in a year.
I'm Trace.
And this is Matt.
So, building on that, so the first 2 podcasts that have actually been released, not to mention the 4 that we've recorded and not edited or released.
Is it 4? Damn.
Well, there's the one with my brother.
That was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I'm not fucking touching that.
Oh, yeah.
There was at least 2 Fortnite ones that it was just going in the background and we weren't like...
Right.
Like, it was just not good. And then there's the one that we did with the like, can you guess the song quiz or whatever?
Oh, yep.
Where I'm pretty sure that we can't do because of Content ID and all the other bullshit that YouTube's doing. And it's hard enough for people like H3H3 and other,
actual
well-established channels to do shit. It's going to be fucking impossible for us. So we're just going to ignore that one too. So, which brings me to, there's actually a lot of talk about copyright shit going on right now, and the EU has just passed. Their whole fucking voting is stupid too. They've passed a vote to agree to vote on something in a year from now that would introduce basically a link tax, to where if you're Google and somebody Googles a current event in your country or whatever, and your local newspaper shows up in a link on Google would have to pay the local newspaper for their link showing up there because it's copyrighted material. Google, right now, the way the law is, Google doesn't have to do that because they're just aggregating the links. They're just saying, hey, here's this link to this site. But Google, Reddit, any sort of social media that links to like Facebook, a newspaper's Twitter site would then have to pay whoever owns the content money to have it there.
Don't most people pay to have their content the first one that you
on Google? Yes.
So you can pay for it to be. You can pay for it to be.
Facebook is going to have to pay somebody to put content on Facebook?
Yes.
No, Facebook would have to pay money for you to share somebody else's content on Facebook.
Yes.
Well,
regardless of
God
your
damn it,
affiliation
boys!
with
What
Facebook.
are we doing?
Every time that you link to an external site, Facebook has to pay that external site.
Every video or picture or article that comes from a different website would cost Facebook money.
Exactly.
Just to have it on the page.
Perfect.
So
what are we doing, guys? We need to come up with a bunch of different things.
Well that also takes websites like Reddit. That's all that Reddit is.
It's a link aggregation site. So they actually have implemented this.
Any search engine that has ever existed.
So Spain actually implemented this, and Germany both have implemented this law just within their countries before. And so the way it went in Germany was Google decided that they weren't going to do that, so they stopped listing German websites basically in their search results. And those sites eventually decided that they didn't give a shit about being paid. They just wanted their results to be the first page of Google. And in Spain, it murdered their local their media.
Yep.
Basically.
So London wants to murder their media?
No, it's the entire EU.
The entire EU.
Oh, so it's in.
So right now, basically, what they voted on was
multiple countries
to put it to
right.
all the member states of the EU to vote on it. Enough of them ratify it, then it becomes an EU law.
I just feel like that's a waste because like you just said, Spain and Germany both went through it, and now they're back to the other way. Just having their shit put on Google or Facebook or Reddit.
Well, my idea is that you showing up on those link aggregation sites drives traffic to you anyway.
Right.
But exactly. I think the idea behind the law is
it's supposed to be copyright protection. Right. Exactly. Is what it is. So that somebody's not linking to your stuff and you're not getting credit is what it is.
Yeah.
But when for a lot of the smaller people, they want the exposure, not so much the direct credit.
Right.
So
they want
they'll
more
take
people
whatever
to
they
follow
can.
than rather than, I don't need the direct credit. I just want more people to follow my
I mean,
stuff.
just them seeing
But
it is the credit
right,
enough,
it brings the
not-
credit to it.
Yeah.
Which is how you gain that following when you're a startup or you're a small. I mean, it's the same way that like
Any
Like-
YouTube channel starts.
Right.
Like,
Right.
any Twitch stream starts. You just get enough people watching and they figure out who you are and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you're not having people pay to find who you are.
right. Eventually they'll subscribe to you or whatever. They'll give you money down the road just for you being you.
Yeah.
Right.
But
that takes a while.
they're not going
Or
to
you
pay
have to
money
have
up
so
front
many people.
for an unknown quantity.
Exactly. It's
So-
it's the
The only way people do that is if you're a known quantity doing your own thing, like Ray Narvaez going and streaming on his own. After
but he knew that he was going to have the following going into
Right.
it, kind of thing. But I mean, it's the in my opinion, that's the way that most media should be. And I understand that you got to pay up front for certain things, but paying up front $150 a month for cable,
Right.
and you just get whatever they happen to give you.
That's
Versus,
bullshit.
I want this one channel, I'll pay $2 a month for this
Well, yeah.
one channel instead of $150 for these 100
Yeah.
channels that I'm not going to watch any of them
Right.
for. Which is why I mostly watch YouTube or Netflix. And given Netflix is kind of the same thing, whereas you pay
$8
$10 a
and
month and
choose.
you get a
Yeah, $10.
Yeah,
And
but-
you don't get to choose what they put on there. Whatever's
No.
on there is on there.
So the problem with cable is that like 3 media companies own everything.
exactly.
So if you want ESPN, you have to pay for Disney,
Disney.
stuff
Yep.
because Disney owns ESPN. If you want NBC Sports Network but nothing else, you have to pay for all the NBC Universal stuff because
All
they're
the
all together.
Turner shit. And,
Right. So you can't just get.
is it Turner or Time Warner? Same thing, right?
I thought it was.
I think it's the same thing.
A lot of stuff
Because-
has happened with Time Warner lately, like recently. So I don't know who owns what anymore.
Because the big ones are what? Fox, Disney, and
Comcast.
then- well, Comcast, I guess. But I mean, for like
Time Warner.
TV channels, is it Time Warner that runs NBC?
No, Comcast.
Is it
Comcast Universal is NBC.
Okay.
Yep.
So then
So
that's
there's-
who that was that they
Yeah.
merged.
For a while it was
with that.
Viacom.
Oh yes,
Viacom
yes.
was-
So
big
does
one,
Time
too.
Warner own Fox? Or does Fox own Fox?
Well, Time Warner had their internet, they had their cable, they had their TV stations,
Right.
which was separate from their cable. Because they were an internet service provider, they were a content producer.
NBC is owned by Comcast.
Yes.
Yes. So it's pretty much Comcast, Disney, and
I think Comcast might
Fox.
ultimately be owned by Universal. That might be. I don't remember which one of those two
Oh, you might
is
be
owned
right.
by who.
well, because I'm looking at the big 3 TV networks, which is NBC, ABC, and CBS, I guess. So NBC is Comcast, ABC is Disney,
Yep.
and CBS is. Let's see.
CBS.
It is CBS Corporation.
Do you see
Well,
the
CBS
thing?
owns a bunch of stuff too, though.
Yes.
I think
Seeing
do they
that-
own Stars?
Possibly.
They own one of the premium
Well,
channels.
CBS used to be Viacom.
Oh, okay.
Subsidiaries. Showtime, not Stars.
That all right. There's some S thing.
Did you see that the CBS CEO got called out for sexually harassing women?
Mm-hmm.
And then he stepped down. It's like, yeah, you did it.
He resigned.
It's-
Yeah.
resigning. He knew he did it.
Yeah. Which he
Well,
could still face.
I think it
Charges
charges
still
for
for
it.
it.
I think it doesn't matter whether they did it or not. People have just been like when they dropped James Gunn.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just
Right.
like
Well,
they don't want to deal with any of that shit anymore.
And
They're
the
just
difference
like,
with
we're
the
out.
James Gunn thing is it wasn't a sexual abuse or anything like that. It wasn't directly affecting any person.
Right.
It was just inappropriate remarks that he had made on Twitter years and years ago.
Right.
Right.
That at the time weren't as offensive
As
they are now.
Well, you have to look at it within the context of, like, if you're going to look at his tweets like that, you got to look at all the people he followed at the time, all the people that followed him, all the
what
current
he was
events.
doing
like,
at the time.
You have to look at the larger context.
And
like,
so,
yeah, some of them, they obviously are shocking things that he was talking about. Fine, whatever. But, like...
So one of the things that I saw about that, Patton Oswalt, very famous comedian,
So
right?
funny.
He's been doing a lot of acting recently, voice acting. He was in Ratatouille.
Yep.
A children's movie.
Yep.
Made by Disney.
Yep.
It was the same company that's making Guardians of the Galaxy that fired James Gunn.
Yep.
Patton Oswalt, back when he was a starting comedian, back in, whenever the fuck that was, early 2000s, whatever.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s.
He had plenty of comedy specials where the jokes that he made would not be broadcasted ever today.
Yeah.
But, because they happened way back then, it never really came to light.
Right.
And in response to the James Gunn thing, he brought up that, like, I've been in a Disney movie and they didn't fire me even though I did this stuff years and years ago.
Context is everything.
Exactly.
Well, and that's why I don't understand
and that's the
how
problem
you can...
with social media is that
Right.
you make one comment today, 40 years later, somebody's going to find it.
And bring it up and be like, well, you said
I
this.
can't wait to see what the politicians of the future will have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and it's 40 years ago. Times were different. So how are you going to fire somebody?
Well, listen, you're
over
saying
a
40 years
comment-
ago?
Over
10 years ago on the internet might as well be 40 years ago.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly. So 10 years ago on the internet, like you just says 40 years ago, why are you firing somebody for making a comment 10 years ago?
It's
But
because...
it's them
That's
covering
not-
their own ass.
well, no,
Fair.
I don't remember who it was, but there was a specific person who was on a witch hunt, basically,
Oh, that
to
makes
brigade
sense.
James Gunn. And since that whole situation got a whole bunch of publicity from random people, like they weren't... Like, this dude is like bottom of the barrel, like shit tier journalist. Like, air quotes around journalist.
This
So
is what he
he
was trying
wanted-
to make his
And
name.
he was
Right.
like, yeah, he was just like, he's well known for just stirring shit up and being a general troll and generally being not credible, but Disney fed him.
Yeah.
And they fed him
course.
James Gunn's job.
But
Which is horseshit.
That's
And-
the thing is that, like,
So who's
every
gonna
single
direct?
actor that worked under him on Guardians signed an entire letter. They all wrote a letter and
And they're
they
like,
all
what
signed
the
it that
fuck?
said, hey, we're with him. Like,
We're leaving.
we understand where that came from, but there's no reason he should have been fired over this.
My favorite person in that whole deal is
So who's gonna
Dave
direct that
Bautista,
fucking movie?
though. Because all the other actors, they're like on board,
Mhm.
but Bautista's the only one who's been like
actively,
legitimately out there being like, I'm gonna fucking leave.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you guys. Like, I might just be starting my acting career, but fuck this. I'm out.
And
No.
he is
Who are you gonna-
amazing
who-
as an actor.
Who are you
he
gonna
is.
play? Who are
He's
you gonna
really
cast
good.
as Drax instead of me?
Nobody.
They're not gonna.
Nobody.
Nobody.
So you're
So
going to
fuck
have
you.
to bring him back because he
Right.
leaves and you're done.
Yeah.
Crazy guy, what, are you going to kill Drax off? No, because that's not how that works.
You're gonna kill Drax off screen, no less.
Right.
Because you gotta. Because I mean, you have
Well, I
to.
mean,
At that
technically,
point.
Infinity War spoilers.
He's
They did
already
kill
gone.
Drax.
Well,
But-
fair enough. Well, kill.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in the Soul Stone or some
But,
shit. I
but
don't
so
know.
you're mentioning that. I just happened to rewatch the first Iron Man a
Right,
couple days
you
ago.
mentioned this earlier.
For the first time in years and years and years.
What's his name?
So, and I completely
Robert
forgot.
Downey Jr.?
Well, no,
No.
Terrence Howard
Yes.
Howard.
originally
As
played Rhodey.
Yep.
And then they recast him as Don Cheadle
Yep.
as Rhodey for the second one. And I remembering that, like, when the first one came out and then the second one,
Yeah.
I liked Terrence Howard better as Rhodey at that time. But now it's been so long and Don Cheadle's been Rhodey for so long
Yeah.
that when I saw Terrence Howard, it was like, oh yeah, I forgot that he was
Yeah.
that character.
He said
like,
that movie ruined his career.
which, I mean, it's kind
I
of
think
his
he
own fault
ruined
for
his
not agreeing
career.
to do the second one.
I agree. He
And
said
then-
that
and
Iron
then-
Man ruined his career.
After that, he kind of just went off the deep end and did his own.
Do you know?
What
Have you,
else
heard
he
of,
did?
have you heard of Teriology?
Yeah. Have you heard about his new math that he created?
He created math.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where apparently instead of 1 + 1 = 2, 1 + 1 somehow equals 3.
How the
I
fuck?
think I'm remembering this correctly.
How the fuck does
Hold on,
that
let me-
work?
I just googled Teriology. So this has been a thing for 3 years.
No, it's been like I said, he went off the deep end.
Let's see. Oh, he was in Empire for a while, so
Oh,
he
he
wasn't
wasn't- yeah.
completely.
Still
out.
is Empire.
He wasn't completely out.
Isn't he still in Empire? Or is he out of that now?
Oh, hold on. He
I
won't
mean, is
be.
Empire
He
still
won't be
going?
sharing Teriology until it's patented.
No,
So-
no, you're right. But he had mentioned part of it where it was weird.
I was always, this is a quote from him, I was always wondering, why does a bubble take the shape of a ball? Why not a triangle or a square? I figured it out. If Pythagoras was here to see it, he would lose his mind. Einstein too. Tesla.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was just spouting random shit. Now I remember that. Yeah.
This is the last century that our children will have to be taught that one times one is one.
That's what it was. I remember wrong.
Yeah.
It's not 1 plus 1. It's 1 times 1, which is 1. No, 1 times 1 is 2.
That's plus, not times.
There's
a difference.
Yeah, exactly. I remember.
Somebody
it wrong,
needs to teach this guy real math. I don't know if he understands it. Maybe we need to sit him down. I'm not very good at math by any means, but I think maybe we all should sit him
Dude,
down.
if you can write a geometric proof that proves 1 times 1 is 2,
then I would believe you.
Go for it.
Right, but if you can't, sit down.
Speaking of geometric proofs, fuck proofs.
Yeah, no,
But,
it's
let's take me back to
if
the 8th
this,
grade.
then that.
But,
Yeah. Yeah, no, not a fan of that. So where were we at? We were at James Gunn. Oh, social media being generally going to be a giant pain in the ass later. It's going to be the point where it's like a movie trope where like the goody two shoes kid is like, I can't do that because I want to be president one day. It's like literally just don't ever open a Twitter account.
Yeah.
Just never start one.
Never start an account.
Don't like anything.
Yeah, never,
don't
ever,
tweet
ever.
anything.
Don't do
don't
it. Because
quote anything.
They were getting all on Funhouse's Matt Peak, right?
Well,
so Matt Peak is, in case you don't know, whoever might be listening to this, he's a member of the Rooster Teeth sub-channel Funhouse.
Yep.
He was previously an editor on Robot Chicken. He's done some TV stuff. He's done some movie stuff. But he's
won a
Robot Chicken.
Emmy
He won an Emmy for Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
That show's
So
awesome.
It's probably not super well known, but it's at least in his Twitter bio, I believe, that he's a practicing Christian. Like
Yes.
that is he identifies that as his religion, and it's like something he actively does. Not like people who are like, I'm a Christian, but like you don't really do anything like with it. I don't know if he goes to church necessarily, but he at least has like a reasonable enough
He believes in
spiritual
God.
relationship
Yes.
of the Christian religion. So he had liked, or he had favorited, because they changed the name of that on Twitter a couple of years ago for some stupid reason. So he had favorited a tweet from somebody who was like, the way people interpreted it was that he was favoriting someone who was saying something like anti-Muslim or something, like hate speech basically. But they didn't, again, context is everything. They didn't look at the greater context of the tweet, which was he had favorited a tweet that quoted the hateful tweet, talking shit on the hateful tweet.
Yep.
But because they saw that he had liked that tweet because it contained the hateful tweet, they were like, oh my god, Matt Peak hates Muslims.
That's funny.
Context is everything.
It's all context. Yeah, it's you. Even when you say something as a response to somebody else, and you're talking about a larger thread,
Right.
and you say one thing, and somebody takes that one thing out of context and posts it as, oh, they freaked out about this.
Right.
Where if you had the 3 tweets before that, you would understand exactly what was
Right.
trying to be said.
My issue...
I feel like that's with a lot of things nowadays.
Well, my issue is
everybody takes things so fucking personally.
Well, that, and they take it out of context, and everybody wants to be a fucking victim.
Right.
So they see the one thing that offends them, instead of like seeing the whole thing, where it's like, I said something that's offensive, but let me explain everything that happened before that, and everything after that.
Right,
Which is why, I don't remember if this happened on this podcast, or if it's just a discussion that we've had, but like, I have no qualms about saying any racial slur or whatever if it is in a context. If I'm quoting somebody,
That
or
was
if like,
on this podcast.
or if I'm like, here are some racial slurs for XYZ thing or whatever.
Right.
Like if it's within a context, I'm not gonna like burst into flames if I say the words.
Exactly.
Because there is a reason why I'm saying them. It's not just to use them in a hateful way.
Right.
It's like, this is what this word is, and this is what this word is, and this is what this word means. Like context is everything. Which again brings me to, I'm loving how we've been able to string everything together so far. I'm really hoping we can keep this going. So, everybody's freaking the fuck out about Elon Musk smoking pot
Right,
on Joe Rogan's
right.
podcast.
Yes, that's so funny to me. But we've talked about this off the podcast.
Yeah, first of all, what the fuck do you think happens on Joe Rogan's podcast?
Literally.
JRE is straight up him sitting there with his guests and they're smoking weed.
Either they did it before the podcast started,
or they're drinking,
doing it
or they're
during
drinking.
it. Like
they're smoking or they're
literally-
drinking. There's no. That's what you get. That you sit down, you listen to this or
Right.
watch this podcast, and you have to know. Listening to Joe Rogan, like you have to know that he's high at some point in that.
Right.
Like,
If
just
not
the way
entire-
he
the entire
says.
time.
Just the way he says. Somebody mashed 2 videos of his together.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey Joe, I'm a big fan of yours. And it's Joe talking. It's Joe Rogan again talking about how monkeys tear your dicks off and shit. And his face is just perfect every time you hear his voice. It's literally perfect. It is like, oh well, you are talking to yourself almost every time you're on the podcast.
Yeah.
But Elon Musk, I don't even think he smoked the weed. I think he just puffed it.
No, he smoked that blunt like a cigar. And how are you going to prove that anything? How are you going to prove that was a blunt?
No,
Right.
exactly. But even still, and I understand there's a lot of controversy because, he's supposed to be in a position of power, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my god, fuck off.
The only legitimate thing that I've seen, against it, is he's supposed to be the CEO of Tesla.
Yeah.
And he's smoking marijuana, yet Tesla drug tests their employees and fires employees for failing drug tests.
Fair enough.
That's the only
I had not seen that yet.
legitimate thing that I've seen about
Speaking
that.
of which, this picture right here. Krieger
but-
with all of the cocaine.
Other than that, okay, they're in a state where it's legal. He's
Yeah.
smoking weed.
Yep.
What's the problem?
And who's to say that Elon didn't take, a week of vacation?
Exactly.
That's enough time to you drink enough water and piss the marijuana out of your system.
Yeah.
If you want to drug test your CEO,
I will say though, the best thing to come out of that is just all the memes.
oh yeah, absolutely.
His face.
Yeah. And I read something somewhere. It was like, you mean the guy who wants to build a giant underground magnetic train and colonize Mars is smoking weed?
Yeah.
He's still my heart.
It's like my favorite one was like,
who could ever have imagined that the dude who wants to go to fucking space is smoking pot?
my favorite meme was it was like, dude, you ever wonder if there's life on Mars? I don't know. Let's go find out.
Yeah,
like literally.
Like what? It baffles me sometimes. It's like, yeah, I get it. He's in a position of power, but where do you think he comes up with these fucking ideas? He just sits there.
Well,
and
most of Jesus Christ, most of his ideas are like LSD tier, like
Right.
shit that he does.
Yes,
So
yes.
Not so much pot.
This is also the guy whose company released a flamethrower.
It's not a
for sale
flamethrower,
to the public, but in order to get around the laws, called it not a flamethrower.
right? It's a lighter that shoots some really big.
No, they called it not a flamethrower.
Not a flamethrower.
That's literally
That's the name of it. Yeah.
Well, I know that's what it
But-
is. But like,
and
it's-
they were thinking
there are a
about
couple
doing it-
guns out there that are technically short barrel rifles, but they're pistols.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
and there was another item that he was gonna sell, or they were talking about it. I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but it was like the same thing where legally they couldn't sell something called that,
Right.
so they were gonna call it not a whatever.
Yeah.
But
Oh, but it's not a flamethrower.
yeah.
What is the? Oh, it changed already. I was trying to figure out what the 2011 one was. It was. I think it was
Might have
one
been
of
one of the video game ones.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, it looked like an Arkham Asylum or whichever. So yeah, I don't get all of the hubbub around Elon Musk, which brings me to the whole legal system thing sucking, because weed is decriminalized in Nebraska, but the only context in which it is decriminalized is the actual possession of it.
Right, but once
Every
you
other part of
sell it, or
every
hand
other
it
part of
or
a
buy it
transaction
or whatever,
regarding marijuana in
is a
Nebraska
felony.
is a felony. Growing it, concentrating it, making like butter to make edibles, selling it, all of that, felony immediately.
Yep.
Having it, fine. Nobody cares.
That still baffles me. I still
It's-
think Nebraska needs to get caught up on the fucking times.
It would not take that much
But-
legally, because I mean, in most states that have legalized it now, it was not decriminalized to the point that Nebraska's at before they legalized it. Like they went straight up from
Nothing. Or Schedule
whatever
1 drug, Section 1 drug to legalized.
just legal.
But we actually have it decriminalized if it's in your possession.
Right.
But we won't make it legal.
So I also found out that like if we were all we're all sitting here on this couch and I had some pot, me handing you the pipe or the joint or whatever is distribution felony.
Correct.
Just me handing it to you.
What if it's lit?
Doesn't matter what it is.
Really?
Me giving it to you is a class
If it-
2A felony.
If it's lit? If
Doesn't
it's
matter.
lit, what do you mean doesn't matter? It's burning.
If I
'Cause
give
I'm
it,
not. I can't take
if
it
I give
anywhere.
you any amount of marijuana from me to you right now, class 2A felony in Nebraska.
Jesus Christ.
If
That's
there
why
were
I'm
a
saying
cop in the room and
Nebraska.
they saw me do it, like
Nebraska is so far behind the times.
the thing is that's so frustrating about the state is that they're so far behind and yet not.
Right.
Sometimes.
Exactly. Like
in some ways they're like, and I think it depends highly upon where you live.
And how
If you're on the eastern side of the state, it probably doesn't seem as much behind the times.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you compare it to the western side of the state where the other half of the population lives, and you have to think about like some of the laws that get passed. It's like, well, technically the majority of the citizens in the state wanted this.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because districts 1 and 2 didn't, does not mean that the state as a majority did not.
But you're in
People
a
don't
state.
remember that. You know, Omaha versus Lincoln versus
Right.
everywhere else.
Yeah.
So,
Populate.
and then you compare it to Iowa. Is the other the tough part about Nebraska laws? You compare any of Nebraska's laws to Iowa's laws, and you're like, why the fuck?
Yep.
Yeah. It's
The casino thing has been coming up a lot lately too.
well, it's because
for
we're
some
sending
reason.
all our money across the river.
Yeah. So between casinos and weed, Nebraska
Open
wouldn't
one
have
casino.
to be wasting a bunch of
Literally
money.
Millions of tax dollars.
They wouldn't have to be
Stupid amount of
wasting a
money.
bunch of money suing Colorado,
Right.
which they lost, and then they wouldn't have to waste a bunch of money fighting the casino legalization because people are fucking going to Iowa anyway and then coming back.
And, I mean, you wouldn't be wasting money on policing a drug that
It's
is not
legal.
harmful.
Right.
Who gives a shit?
Doesn't-
Like, yeah, sure.
Or-
Give people DUI if they're fucking blazed out of their mind.
Right.
That makes sense.
That's fine. They were impaired driving a motor vehicle.
Wasting money on
Great.
putting somebody in prison for upteen number of years
Right.
for possession of a plant.
Right.
Not to mention how much money the state would make by growing hemp.
Well, that too. That
is
would save.
one of the most useful plants ever.
It would save the newspaper industry because of
You just use
all
that
of
to make
the.
paper.
Yeah, you just make hemp. You just use hemp to make paper.
Make literally
Because
anything.
instead of
out
having to
hemp.
import all this shit from Canada,
Yep.
which you're getting tariffed on now, like a motherfucker, just make it here.
And guess what? Now Canada's gonna ramp up their hemp production because, as of next month, weed
It's
is
legal
legal
there.
in Canada.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna up that.
Like you said, we're so far behind, but we're not behind.
Yeah. No, there's just, and the most frustrating thing I've found is that the conservative side of the state, like most people, if you believe like most social media, like Reddit or Tumblr or whatever, the left-leaning social media sites,
Generally, yeah.
you believe that anybody who's a conservative is an insufferable asshole who cannot be spoken to ever. And yeah, I know. I've met a couple of them before in my life.
Fuck you and fuck you.
Hey,
I'm actually tolerable.
no,
I know. I was kidding.
Trace doesn't count because he's a hunter, and hunters are the biggest fucking hippies ever. People
Except
don't
I
realize
like
that people don't realize that hunters are huge fucking hippies, but hunters are huge hippies. They love the earth and they want conservation. Like how much
We
fucking-
spend so much more money in conservation than anybody else ever does.
right, but
Between
people
hunters,
realize
there's about $1.4 billion in conservation, and I don't see anybody else doing that. I don't see bird watchers, hikers, fucking anybody else doing that.
Yeah.
I have to go buy 4 different licenses just to shoot a bird. Just to hunt. Oh, and then I have to buy a parking pass to park at the place that I have to walk 2 miles because I can't drive into it because of the conservation. So you want to talk about conservation? Yes. And you want to talk about the hippies? Sure, yeah, we're hippies.
Hunters are the biggest fucking hippies.
But I don't consider myself a hippie. I just consider myself a conservationist, and that's what I would like.
Well, it's funnier to call you hippies, so that's what I call you.
It is a little funnier to call us hippies.
Yeah, I mean, most people on the internet, most left-leaning people on the internet would have you believe that most conservatives are, you just can't talk to them because they're just all super brainwashed and they have all this. And yeah, I've met a few that are like that. I'm not going to lie. I mean, of course, there's probably 1 or 2. There's a reason why stereotypes exist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's at least one person that's like that. But I found that most people that, even if they lean more conservatively, and my in-laws are a good example of this, if you talk the whole issue through, they will generally agree. They might make some concessions. Because we talked about, this was a few years ago when I was first starting to date my wife. We somehow ended up on a discussion because she has a really open relationship with her parents, talks about these issues, politics, whatever. Doesn't, they might start to get a little bit argumentative, but it's not like a full-blown fight type thing that never happens.
Right.
So we were talking about it, and her parents are both, well, her dad more so, but her parents are both very Catholic. And her dad had a very strong opinion on the whole same-sex marriage thing. And he wanted to keep calling, he in his opinion, is I just want to call it a civil union, not marriage, because marriage, to me, means it's specifically it's a church.
Right.
Religious.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a religious construct. And I was like, what does it matter? Because what we're talking about is legal marriage, not religious marriage.
Yes.
What we're talking about within the context of the law is legal marriage.
Yeah.
The same exact rights that, a heterosexual couple gets.
Yes.
Everybody, whatever the couple might be, should get legally, because it is a legal construct. It is not, there is a different meaning to it, because, anybody can get fucking married.
Yeah.
Right? I could find some random chick on the street and be like, hey, we're legally married now.
Yeah.
Right.
This person saw us do it, Matt married us because he can do that, because he's got the license to do it. And sign here, and all right, we're married,
all right,
legally.
Literally, you walk into the courthouse and 10 minutes later...
You're married.
Right.
Yeah.
It means fucking nothing.
Other than you get to mark a different box in your tax form.
Right. And you have all sorts of other
doesn't
legal...
help.
There's other shit to it, but yeah.
Powers of attorney and all that other shit. But, if you look at it from a legal perspective, it doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly.
Who cares? From a religious perspective, yeah. Which also, I actually kind of had a discussion about this earlier. If you were a homosexual, male or female, whoever, you were homosexual, and you wanted to get married, the thing that made me mad when this started to come to a head, a few years ago, when it started becoming more talked about, was that they wanted to do these ceremonies in churches, and churches were like, no, we don't do that here because we don't recognize that kind of marriage, which, fine, it's part of your religion.
Yep.
That is part of
Right.
this country's, it's your First Amendment right, or
Freedom.
some amendment right.
First.
Freedom of religion.
Right.
Freedom of religion.
That they can refuse to, have a ceremony for you. Yes.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Yeah. So, but all the gay people were getting super upset that churches wouldn't marry them in churches. And my first thought was, why the fuck would you want to go to the institution that has persecuted you for thousands of years?
Exactly.
You and your kind for thousands of years.
Okay,
Why would
so-
you want to go there specifically
So
to get married?
this leads into part of my, not anti-religion, but part of the reason why I don't believe in a certain religion.
Right.
Because, okay, so say you're a gay person.
Yeah.
Say you were raised as a Christian your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
You very strongly believe in Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gay, do you just think that there's something wrong with you? Because if you know what you are, then how when the Bible explicitly says this is wrong, don't do this, you just live a lie of a life. But then if you admit that you're gay and you're in a gay relationship kind of thing and you want to get married in church and they're telling you not to, so that, and I guess that just kind of leads into the just ignore the part that you don't like kind of thing.
Right.
Which is what most people in religions kind of do.
It's true, and that's part of the reason why I've kind of fallen out of that, because I was raised very Christian, and I still would identify myself as a Christian. I would not go so far as to say that I'm agnostic or atheist or whatever, but I definitely have a very different view on it than most people do, especially people who were born and raised in it. I would say that 30% of the people who were raised the way I was, as far as like how into the church I was, fall out and become straight up atheists.
Yep.
Like at least 30, if not more. The other 60 are like, the really weird people you meet who work at Chick-fil-A, who you just kind of get a weird vibe from.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other whatever percentage. I'm somewhere in the middle because I have pulled a lot of value from that upbringing in my life. Like it is, forget everything else. Forget, some people might say it's like a made up story. It's all fairy tales. It's just a book that some dude wrote. Who gives a shit? There's a lot of good life lessons in that book.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, basically all the New Testament boils down to is don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't be a dick.
And then on the other hand, the Old Testament is mostly be a dick to this person, though.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Be a dick to this person and also kill all these
For those
ghosts
reasons.
and then you go to heaven. Right? Like, so that's really boiling it down to like the most, like,
Yeah.
it's almost absurd how boiled down that is. But it's pretty much what it is that in the Old Testament, the Jews as a society had fucked up majorly, and God was punishing them, so that he was like, well, here's all these things you have to do, and if you don't do them right, and you have to do these things because you fucked up a long time ago. So even though this kid who's 7 generations removed from the fuck up still has to do all these things, that's the whole point of the New Testament. Jesus came, died on the cross, blah, blah, blah. Nobody has to do any of that shit anymore. It doesn't matter because Jesus did all those things. Like, he just is like, okay, here we go. We're done now. You don't have to do all that other bullshit in the Old Testament. Like, you could... realistically, Christianity... The only reason the Old Testament is even taught is to show you... It's like when you take, like, an introductory class, where you're like, here are all the long way of doing things. And then you get to the 200 or the 300 level class, and they're like, fuck all that, here's the shortcut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Basically is what it is. But you have to know all of this stuff to know why the shortcut works. And that's basically what the Old Testament is to the New Testament in Christianity. That's really super basic because I have not done a whole lot of religious stuff in the past 10 years probably.
Yeah.
So some of my knowledge is a little bit fuzzy. That's the way I understood it anyway. So when I think of somebody who's gay, and I don't believe that it is a choice. Like some things maybe, and that's maybe getting a little bit too political, but I don't believe that homosexuality is necessarily a choice. I believe that it is something that just happens in your brain.
It's the same reason no straight person chose to be straight.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Did you wake up one day and was like, no, I'm going to like girls today?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's same thing.
Right. So, if the Bible teaches you that God created you in His image, right, and that every single human on earth is one of God's children, and that you have your own free will to decide whether you believe in Jesus as the Messiah or not, then what does it matter if you're gay? Because the thing that I ultimately cannot reconcile with most evangelical Christians is that they believe that somebody who murdered and raped kids and women, right, as long as he has repented of his sins and accepted Jesus as the Savior, he will go to heaven when he dies.
Right.
But if he's gay, no.
See,
That
that's
doesn't
the other
make
side
any sense.
That is bullshit.
So,
It doesn't make any sense. at all.
So, person that was born in China, where Christianity is not very big,
Right.
lives till they're 60, is just never introduced to the religion. Nobody ever tells
So
them
in
what
that
this
case,
is.
they are not. If they are not given the opportunity, then they, according to what I was taught, they go to heaven. Basically, if you live in some backwoods community and you never talk to any other human ever, you are considered an innocent soul, and you cannot be punished for that. Basically,
So, it's all luck of your birth.
yeah.
I mean, or or on the other hand, like a baby that lived for a day and died.
Right.
Like, yeah. And like, comedian Jim Jeffries, he has one bit where he talks about that.
Yeah.
And he's like, what if we let one dead baby into heaven? We have to let all the dead babies into heaven.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it reminded me of that. But
yeah. His bit on guns too is pretty funny, and I like guns. I'm a second
by
amendment
far
guy.
his most popular.
Yeah. Where he was like,
bit. Yeah.
His issue with people who like guns is not just like they don't have to. Like their justification isn't just "fuck off, I like guns."
Well,
like that's
no,
literally what he says.
Yeah,
that's his quote.
Yeah, it's no, I need it for protection. I need it for this. I need it for this. No, your only argument that you have is "fuck off, I like guns."
Yeah.
Yep.
Fuck off. I like guns.
Yeah.
Fuck. I buy a handgun. What do you need it for?
Because
I like guns.
And it's like, well, I'm safe with my guns. I keep it in a safe. Well, then it's not fucking protection.
No.
Right.
It's in a safe. Most people keep it in another room or downstairs. That ain't protecting you.
Right.
The fuck's gonna protect you? Your handgun that's in your fucking drawer next to you.
Well, then,
most likely you're gonna shoot your wife, and then there's a big ass.
Well, then he mentions
or yourself. You're more likely to shoot yourself than anybody else.
Or yourself.
So
one of my favorite bits is he was like he mentions that his house was broken into when he was living in England, I think, or Australia, wherever it was. His house was broken into,
yeah.
And the guys had a machete, like when they broke into his house, and they were like, "Well, imagine if you had a gun." And he's like, "All right, well, I was naked at the time. I wasn't wearing my holster."
But that's funny. But that's not necessarily it, though. I mean,
no, and there are plenty of uses for guns.
You like if you're at home, you have a gun. Most of the time, you have a handgun somewhere in the vicinity of protection. Most people do. You'll talk to them like,
have
no.
A handgun,
They'll be like, no, all my guns are in a safe. That's a lie. There is a gun somewhere in your bedroom.
Okay,
that
I will bring
you can go.
This up. He also mentions, who are you that you're so afraid of people coming after you? What are you doing that you're so afraid of people coming after you and your family?
Yeah.
Like, I understand we live in a fucked up world and shit happens.
Right.
But generally people aren't going to come in and try and murder your family.
No, right. And I'm not
unless you're doing something stupid, like running for a gun while they're breaking into your house kind of thing. Like,
well, that's why you don't run for it. They
but
break in, there's a gun near you. You don't have to worry about it.
At the same time, you hear plenty of stories of just some random fucking person. Like, the dude just walked into that neighborhood that day and was like, this house.
I'm going to kill these people in it.
Yeah.
And they're dead because they didn't have a weapon near them.
Or they were
old. Always hold a gun on you. And then as soon as you get pissed at somebody, bam, you're dead.
I know.
The thing is, though, is that if you're concealed carrying, there are plenty of, mostly anecdotal, because I don't know if any study has been done on this, but plenty of stories where it's like, if you are carrying right then, it is your job to de-escalate the situation.
100%. Yeah.
It is not your job to be like, oh, fucking yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Pull it out.
It's
usually
your job to make sure that it never gets. If you are carrying,
you don't ever want to pull that weapon.
You are carrying the gun. The last thing you want to do is pull it.
Yep.
That should be the last thing on your mind.
Agreed.
Last thing you ever need to do
as
is
a responsible.
pull your weapon.
But there are a lot of people that say, well, yeah, give everybody a gun. And those are the people that should not be carrying a gun.
Right,
probably.
exactly. Because they're looking for an excuse to use it.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't.
Unfortunately, a lot of those people end up becoming cops. But
it's a big problem.
It is a.
I say a lot. I don't know what the percentage is, but they certainly rise to the top.
It will never be solved.
Yeah.
It will never have a solution that pieces.
Because the cops are going to shoot somebody to death, they're going to beat them to death with a baton. They're going to beat them to death with a baton, they're going to beat them to death with their fists. Somebody somewhere is going to want an excuse to beat the shit out of somebody and kill them legally.
And find a way to. Yeah.
And that would those people end up in law enforcement. And probably not all of them, but that's a power trip type behavior, and what better power to have than to be the enforcer of the law.
Right. I'd rather just fucking help people.
That's probably 95%, 99% of the cops.
Yeah, it is.
The ones that you always hear about.
It's just you only hear about the bad ones.
Are the super shitty ones.
Yeah.
Right. You always only see or hear about the bad ones, and then everybody's like, oh, they need this, this, and this. It's like, well, it also helps. It also helps if, the civilians would be more, you know.
Well,
if you would just
okay,
listen,
I will put on this end though. It would help if the civilians are more accepting towards the police. However,
it would help if the police are more accepting to the civilians.
well, not even that. It's just the
when you get rolled up on by the police and they're like, they immediately assume that you've done something
Right.
wrong.
The way that
Nobody's going to help you
police
out.
forces in America work
They
now.
always fish is all they do.
It's more. It's run like a business where we need to make money, so we need to write tickets. We need to enforce these laws that really, I mean, yes, they need to be enforced, but like pulling somebody over for going one over in a speed limit, like
That's a $5.
I've always been a big proponent of the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law.
Exactly.
So,
Just because somebody goes up on the curve trying to get around a car to get in the turn lane kind of thing doesn't mean they should get an $80 ticket.
Right. Or somebody who's
Sounds like
I'm
experience.
not saying that happened to me, but the guy that drives down the sidewalk trying to go half a mile down the road to get ahead of everybody else, that deserves a ticket.
Or like, here's a good example. So there is an off-ramp near where I live, and actually I'll circle this back around to why I'm being vague. So there's an off-ramp on a highway near where I live where there's a sign posted. So, well, let me start back. So it's an off-ramp. So, right, so it's one lane coming off the highway.
Yep.
It eventually splits into 3 lanes. So there's a right turn lane and 2 left turn lanes.
Okay.
So, but this off-ramp is probably a quarter mile long total. But until you get to about halfway, it's still just the one lane, technically.
Before
it's
it
one
splits,
lane with a 1 lane wide shoulder.
Okay.
But there's a solid white line, right?
Which legally you're not supposed to cross.
Exactly.
You're not supposed to go over.
So, and there's a sign that says as much. It says, do not park or drive in the shoulder. However, during rush hour, this gets very dangerous. If everybody stayed in the one lane on the off-ramp, you'd be backed up a half mile down the highway.
Mm-hmm. So
what you do is people who are turning right ride the shoulder. They get into the shoulder specifically to stay out of the way of people who are turning left, because there's 2 left turn lanes and 1 right turn lane. So it's about 50% of the people going left, 50 are going right. There probably needs to be another right turn lane at that intersection, but there's only 1 right now. Whatever.
Another story.
I always go in the shoulder, even though there's a sign that specifically says do not drive in the shoulder.
Well,
but when you have to consider safety, like somebody can fucking die.
Yes.
Because they're not paying attention coming on that highway, and they don't know that this lane has come to a dead stop, or they're following somebody too close and that person just swerved out of the way suddenly, and now they're between, they're going 70 miles an hour and there's somebody who's stopped.
Yep. Well, that's like...
You prevent that by getting your ass in the shoulder and letting the people who are turning left go to the left side so that they can go, and so it can filter out. Usually by the time the light cycles, it's enough to where the off-ramp is still clear enough where people can get in. That's why you break the law.
But that's a good lot of breaks so nobody gets hurt.
Right. And no cop is ever going to ticket you for doing that.
No, because he doesn't want to deal with the accident.
And no cop is going to ticket you for doing 12 over on the highway when everybody else is doing 12 over. And if you were to do the speed limit, you'd be causing literal safety issues.
Problems.
Like, if you are going to be an obstruction on the road, or you are... Fuck off with the upgrades. If you're going to be an obstruction on the road or a problem, I've seen cops pull people over for going too slow.
Right.
And even though they were going the speed limit, they were not going fast enough for the traffic at the time.
So, so I'm looking it up right now, the Nebraska DMV booklet that, has the laws of the road and all that. Right? So, the page...
There's something in there that says about the flow of traffic.
Yes.
I don't remember where it is.
That's what I was looking at. So, it's... Well, it's supposed to be on this page.
Flow of traffic.
No,
seriously.
It's a real thing. There are speed laws, right? So maximum speed limits unless otherwise posted, right?
Right.
So then in the next section down, it says adjusting speed for traffic conditions. Generally, drive at the same speed as the mainstream of traffic to avoid frequent passing and to ensure you can adjust to slower moving vehicles. If you're driving at less than the normal speed of traffic, drive in the right-hand lane available for traffic, except when overtaking or passing another vehicle proceeding in the same direction, or when preparing for a left turn in an intersection. Unless safety unless safety, I think that's a typo, an emergency, or the law requires otherwise, do not drive slow enough to impede or block the normal and reasonable flow of traffic. So,
if the normal flow of traffic is 5 or 10 over
then you
on
should
that
be
stretch of
going
road,
that
that's what you should be doing.
fast to not endanger everybody
Or you should be in
else.
the right-hand lane.
Yes, yes. And so, if out of 100 cars on the interstate are all going 75, and a cop pulls up, all those cars should continue going 75 because that's the flow of traffic.
Right.
When all of a sudden you slow down to, I think it's 65 now in Omaha. I think
It's 65 on I-80 and 480, but it's not. It did not get raised on any state highways.
Yeah, okay, that's what it
So,
was. Yeah.
like
In
Highway
town.
75 or
You're
like
right,
34 or any of those,
But the
they're still
interstates
whatever
are
they want.
Dodge,
But so-
Dodge got moved up to 60 from 132nd and
Oh, on the
west.
overpass?
Or 70. It got moved. Yeah, it got
To
moved.
70.
Oh, from
70.
168th
Wow.
out?
132nd out.
They got
I
moved
thought
to
it was
70?
168.
70. Maybe
I thought it was 168.
They had
Or
it
it bumped
100
up to 65.
It's not
Originally.
Well, my dad works over by there, and it's right.
Because I know
when he gets
168th
on.
is where it bumped up to
65.
65
Wherever
going
the bank-
west. So,
wherever
and I thought they all
Bank
moved
of
up
the
5
West
miles an hour.
Park is.
That's like
That's
yeah,
132nd and Dodge.
Yeah.
Say,
Right
from
by
100
the First National Park. Yeah.
132nd.
Oh, really? Wow.
Straight
out,
west?
straight west.
75?
West.
Are they
70.
finished with the 50th Street yet?
I
Boys
don't
Town
think they're
exit?
done
Yeah.
with the exit yet. I
Either
don't think
way.
they're done with the bridge either. Either way, that's
Either way,
faster.
so if
that's
a cop
faster
co-
than
I mean,
merges
that's
on-
how much everybody was doing already.
If a cop merges on and everybody's going 75 and one car slows down to 65 to the posted speed limit, all of a sudden that not only creates a
The traffic
traffic
jam.
jam from everybody else slowing down, but could very easily result in an accident from
And
somebody
it's-
rear-ending them.
right.
Or,
Absolutely.
yeah. Which, yeah. And so pulling somebody over for, oh, you're going 5 miles an hour over, well, everybody else is too. And, like, it's a shitty excuse, but everybody else is too.
Right.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
stick with everybody else.
Yeah, I usually decide how fast I go based on what kind of road it is. Like, usually if the speed limit's 35, it's typically like
The road
one
is
step
rated
above
for-
neighborhood
Yes,
road, right?
yes.
So I'll do 40. I don't do 10 over on those roads.
No.
But on the interstate, I can easily do 10 over and still be not the fastest person on the road.
Exactly.
Fuck no.
So,
And it depends on where you're at, too. Further out in West Omaha, generally it's a little bit faster.
right.
Further east,
Hey, if you're driving on
a
the
little bit
interstate,
slower.
And if
Right.
you're anywhere rural, it could
It's
be
ridiculous.
it's
Yes.
whatever speed you want. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
Can prove that.
As
And
long
if
as
you're
you don't
driving,
see a cop.
Well, yeah. If you're driving at 4 a.m. on the interstate, it's 90. It ain't 75.
But that kind of goes back to what I was saying about the cops, though, is that you were saying, like, that the citizens need to be more, like, open to the cops kind of
Right.
thing and, like, not be afraid of them. But every interaction that I have had with a police officer while I'm driving, my initial reaction is, oh, shit.
Right, you're scared.
There is never a, oh, thank God there's a cop right there.
Right, no,
Yeah.
it's like...
Unless somebody else does something stupid, I'm hoping
Right.
they get pulled over. But
But
generally,
even then, you're still wishing ill
every
upon it.
time you see a cop,
Exactly.
your initial reaction is you look down at the speedometer.
Fuck.
You're like, well, fuck.
Speed.
I when I was down when I lived in Wichita, I got in an accident because of that. I was going through an intersection. I saw a cop. I looked down at my speedometer. I looked back up. The car in front of me was stopped, and I hit him. Because I was afraid that I was speeding and the cop would pull me over.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's... And I understand that, and I understand, like, being... a
You
little
go to
bit
any
afraid
European
and-
country, and you're not like, oh, fuck, there's a cop. You're like, oh, awesome, there's a cop in case something happens. Or
Well, that's 'cause
Or you're
not in the
surprised.
country.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, cops. here.
Well, and I've always noticed that there's...
Although in Europe they do a lot more of the speed camera stuff. They don't
Exactly.
necessarily
They-
do radar. They
radar,
don't run
yeah.
radar.
Well,
So-
and that's a big difference, is that you look at police vehicles in Europe versus police vehicles in America. European police vehicles are gaudy yellow and blue colors, bright flashing lights all over the thing. Police cars in America,
Look
the
like a
only
normal
time
car.
that you notice their lights is when they turn them on.
Yeah.
They look like a normal car because they're trying to hide from civilians to catch them doing something wrong.
Right.
You shouldn't be trying to catch them doing something wrong. You should be going after them if they do something wrong.
Right.
Not trying to goad them into doing something
Right.
wrong. Or you see like the videos of like undercover cops like trying to street race
Right.
people, and it's like you're initiating this, and then you're writing them a ticket for
isn't that technically
entrapment. Yeah, I mean it should be, but
how is it not?
the person that is getting the ticket, they either have to hire a lawyer and then go to court for entrapment, or they can just pay the ticket.
Right.
And most of the people
Dude,
just
you're
pay
gonna-
the ticket,
Well-
and they know that they're going to get the money, or okay, we'll just throw it out and ta-da.
Right, exactly. Well, he said entrapment, okay, it's out.
Yeah. So
We'll get the
it's
next
a win-win. It's either you
Yeah,
get
for
nothing
every
out of
five,
it, or you get
something out of it.
For every 5 you pull over, one dude's gonna be like, "Wait a minute, that's a trap," and you go, "Okay, never mind."
yeah,
Right.
but you still get the money
Yeah,
from the other four.
Right.
Don't tell your
Yeah.
4 buddies
Yeah,
that we pulled
exactly.
over.
It's
You're right. Huh. Our bad. Yeah.
my bad. My
because
bad.
and that's the problem is that as a public service, it's run as a business. It's run as a for-profit.
So is
business.
Congress.
Exactly.
So
it's
is like
it's a
that's-
public service, but they're all out for themselves making money.
Right. And I just
Same with
maybe you restart.
and technically it's not in America, but it probably should be healthcare. It should be a public service that everybody is able to receive
At least to a
life-saving-
certain level.
Yes, that.
To-
But I should. If I am dying of a gunshot wound, I should be able to walk into a hospital and not have to owe money for the entire rest of my life because of that.
Right.
Hey, I feel you on owing money the rest of your life. Feel you there on that one.
But every single hospital in the country is for profit.
Oh
for
yeah, 100%.
the most part.
Almost all.
There's a whole.
Except for, like, St.
I don't
Jude's.
know enough to fucking even
See,
dissect
and I don't
everything that's
know-
wrong with the healthcare.
Yeah,
Part of
exactly.
the country
I don't
here.
know the intricacies of it. I understand that there's reasons why it.
I
wouldn't
know that they
work
charge way
immediately
too
kind of
much,
thing.
and I know that that's related to somehow to insurance, and I know that it's
It-
kind of like a
It's
feedback loop
very
where
much. Well, okay, so actually, I saw something the other day, and it has to do with LASIK,
okay.
LASIK eye surgery, right?
Yeah.
So,
Generally, a cosmetic surgery.
generally a cosmetic surgery, so insurance will not cover LASIK
Correct.
for most people.
Unless it's bad enough.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's seriously impeding your well-being, kind of
Right.
thing. So since insurance doesn't cover it, LASIK costs. I mean, it's a wide spectrum, but generally they say about $1,500 an eye.
Holy fuck.
For one eye, it costs $1,500 to get the surgery done. So they did a projection kind of thing. If all insurances generally covered LASIK, and that was a common thing, per eye, LASIK surgery would jump to about $13,000 per eye.
So you might as well not cover it. Because it's cheaper on you.
Do you know why, though? Because it's not covered by insurance, and the companies that are doing the LASIK surgery have to compete against each other for your business.
Right.
So they have to lower
Keep
the
it
price
low.
in order for you to come to them instead
Because
of the
if
other.
it is covered by insurance,
But if
then
it's
they
covered
don't
by
care.
insurance, it doesn't matter how much you're paying because insurance is going to cover it. So I can go to
Right.
place A, I can go to place B. I'm paying my same deductible. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
how
it
much
doesn't
total.
matter. So it's
So
30
they
grand.
have no incentive to lower the price.
Right.
If insurance is out of the deal, prices on damn near everything would drop because otherwise nobody's going to afford it and nobody's going to do it. So all of a
Right.
sudden,
Well,
this hospital's losing money because
but that's why I thought, universal health care, good, great, grand. But that's why it was better when it wasn't all trying to be one thing. Because we had multiple companies, here in Omaha, we had multiple companies going, hey, well, you pay us this much a month. Oh, well, I'll lower it by this much, but you get the same amount over here.
Well, my problem with the way that
So
the
then
US
you bring
implemented
in...
universal health care was that it was so half-assed.
exactly.
Right. That's the big issue. If you go about it as a social security tax, right? So
You made everybody have health insurance, but you did not fix the problem with health insurance.
exactly.
So it still is shitty.
Yes,
Exactly.
and that's.
But if you
that's
go
the problem.
if you go about it with like a social security tax, right? You want your money when you're done.
We're not even going to see
Working.
that shit anyways.
Exactly.
Right. We're not going to see it. So change it to a healthcare. So now we're all still paying the tax, but if we need to go to the hospital, it's already paid for.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about it.
And that's the thing.
Instead
is
of
that,
pretending like we're still going to get Social Security when we're 55 or 60.
Right. Might as well
'Cause
make it
we're not gonna
worth what
fucking
I
get that shit.
actually need.
Yeah.
Rather than
and that's the
fucking
thing,
shit I'm
is-
not going to
is
see.
you look at an average paycheck right now, right? So say, just throw a number out there. Say you get $1,000 net gross, paycheck, right? So that's like the money that you made, your hourly, that's before taxes, anything, $1,000. Generally, you're getting about, what, 75% of that,
Right.
I'd say?
Yeah, usually there's about
It's-
20 to 30%.
It fluctuates somehow.
About,
I don't know why.
I'd say about a quarter comes
Yeah.
out
Right.
in taxes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think for a while I actually kept track of this for a while. This is a long time ago. I make more now than I did then, but it was like 23%.
Exactly. Okay, so about a quarter. I think, in general, almost... Well, I guess you can't really say that because there are the people that are flat out against it. But most people would be willing to take an extra 5% out of their paycheck and then never have to worry about paying
insurance.
a copay, insurance for
Right.
health. And
Unless you
I don't
want
know
an
what the number
upgrade.
would...
Unless you want an upgrade, then you can pay for the
well,
upgrade.
but that's the thing.
But
even,
then that you should be
even-
given the option to opt out
even in
Of
countries...
the up-
yes,
of
yes.
the tax
Well,
if
right.
you were going to get private health insurance.
Exactly.
Yes.
And even in the countries that have universal health care, I think you
That's
can
it.
get private insurance
You can,
on your
yes.
own if
Well,
you
I
want to
think
pay that.
that's like an upgrade though, but you still have to pay.
You're still paying, like in the UK, you're still paying
into it.
into
Because
the
in
NHS.
Australia is the same. They have universal health care. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. If you want an upgrade, you can upgrade, but you still have to pay the tax.
Yes,
Right.
yes. But and then that at that point, it's the upgrade is your choice.
Right.
So-
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is like this guy that worked for my dad had a brain aneurysm twice and walked into a hospital. Like you said, I need to walk in a hospital. I don't have insurance. Doesn't matter because you're covered. It doesn't matter. You're surviving. We saved you. Walk out, come back 4 months later with the same goddamn thing. You're surviving.
So and that's the thing is that I know at least in Australia, their national health care that the citizens pay the tax for extends to anybody that goes to their hospitals, kind
Right.
of thing. Because
it's like if we go down there and have to go to the hospital, well,
for
our
example,
insurance will fuck us.
the first RTX Cindy that they did, Lindsay Jones got hurt when they were filming something, and they went to the hospital. They walked out with a $200 bill.
Right.
Like their hospital bill was $200. When they got home, they looked and like priced everything out for the same hospital. With insurance, they would have paid, I think it was like $8,000 out of pocket or something like that.
Yeah.
For that.
That's ridiculous.
For what it was like stitches. It was like 6 stitches.
We're
or something
so
like
far
that.
behind on that.
That's
America
fucking
is.
ridiculous.
America's so far behind.
My biggest issue when it comes to taxes is like there needs to be some way to have some oversight on where the money's going without it also being a government agency because it's going to be just as fucked up as everything else
Well,
is.
right. They're gonna
But I
pull
would
from
not
it.
care so much about what's being taken out of my paycheck every month if I knew
If it was going to something that you wanted it
if I
to
knew
go
that those
to,
dollars said Social Security and it was actually going to Social Security.
Well, it's
Exactly.
going
And
to. It's going. Your
it's
tax
going
is
to some
going
other trust
Social
fund
Security.
that some other motherfucker's pulling
it's
shit
going
out.
to Social Security, and then they're going. We need this for this, this, and this.
Yeah.
That's why we're
Well,
not going to see
That
Social
should not
Security.
be able to be touched.
I saw an article the other day saying that it was like, I don't remember what the number was. It was like $80-some million was borrowed from FEMA, the natural disaster relief.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah, it was. I saw the same thing.
Was borrowed from FEMA to use for ICE, like
To
immigration,
deport.
Yeah.
to go down to the border and help deport more people. Meanwhile, we have I don't even know what it's at now, but
Category 4.
massive hurricane heading towards the East Coast that is set to damn near destroy North Carolina. And FEMA is going to need every penny that they can get to
You're
go
going to
help
need your
them
$80
here in a
million
week.
that now that you don't have.
But we're going to send all those Mexican kids back.
It's fine.
First.
It's fine. Trump will show up with some toilet paper and some paper towels, and it'll be fine.
Oh my God! What did he say the other? He was in an interview or whatever. He's sitting there and they're like, What's your thoughts on Florence or whatever?" He's like, "It's big. It's gonna rain a lot.
It's going to be wet or something.
Oh yeah,
like
it's
that.
gonna be wet. It's big." And I'm like,
No shit.
"What?" I'm like, "Do you have nothing else to say?"
Like, I don't know. we're trying to get people out as much as possible. You
A
know,
million people
we're doing
evacuated. They
we're
all
doing
said,
the
"See
best
you
we
fucking
can
later."
to make sure that the loss of life is minimal and the loss of infrastructure is minimal, and make sure we can bounce back when it happens, because there's only so much you can do to prevent the loss of
100%.
infrastructure. But you can prevent loss of life. You can tell people to leave. Whether they leave or not is not up to you.
Exactly.
You can tell them to
Can
leave.
you have a forced evacuation?
I mean,
you can rip people from their homes. I don't know if that's
one of my
100%
coworkers
legal.
was mandatory evacuated.
Yeah.
But even that it's still free country.
I ain't
You
saying
can just
no, I own
sit
this,
there and die on the coast if you want.
Yeah.
But at that point, the government said, "All right, we told you to leave, and you didn't fucking leave." So
we are
can't
telling
sue
you,
me.
we are
We're
telling
out.
you are going to die if you stay.
yeah, we're out.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's nobody. If you call 911, nobody's gonna answer
Nope.
because nobody's gonna be fucking here.
They already changed that in most of the states. There, they said do not call unless you're dying.
Right.
I
Like
don't care
unless
if
you're
your house gets
literally
broken into, I don't care. You get in a
impaled
car wreck,
on
don't care.
something.
Unless
right
you're
now.
dying,
I mean,
do not call.
It's a larger scale, the same thing that Omaha does it every time it fucking rains. They
Yeah.
go on accident alert. Well, they'll only respond to if there's a serious injury.
Yeah, same thing when it snows too. Where
Yeah.
they're like, all right, well, if nobody's hurt in the accident, just fucking clean it up and go home.
Yep.
Don't call the police.
Exchange insurance and
Yeah, just don't call us.
figure it out on your own. Yeah.
And it usually happens within 20 minutes of it starting to snow.
100%.
right.
As,
Mean
as soon
Streets
as soon as
or
they
the
hit,
official OPD
Yeah.
account is like, yeah, stop,
yeah.
no more.
And it's literally don't go the fuck outside. Or
Right.
in this case, it's
Leave.
don't call because we ain't gonna fucking answer.
Right.
Just fucking leave.
Yeah,
Like,
everybody's gonna be.
But so, do the cops get to choose to leave? Like the fire people?
some people they have to stay, but they have to stay within their building.
Yeah.
Like
so,
they have to stay sheltered until the storm is over, and then they can come out. Which is why if you call 911 when a tree fell on your house, but you're fine and nobody else is hurt, they're gonna tell you to go fuck yourself.
But at the same time, it also depends on the immediate danger to the
Right. So
police or
my thing is,
firefighters.
we
or
were
whoever.
actually talking about this today at work. They're like, "You would stay?" I'm like, "If I had to, yeah, I would send my wife and kids
But
away."
and that's the thing,
but
though,
I
is
would
that
stay.
the police are hunkered down in the police station, waiting in case. Oh God, this building exploded and this kind of thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you open the door and the door rips off, they're not going to leave to go try and
Right.
fix that
Right.
because that's putting themselves in immediate
Right.
danger. You can only do so much, and once it's shit storm levels of bad, you can't do anything.
Yeah,
So.
well,
you just
yeah,
have to
there's
wait.
no way of getting out of that. It's crazy that they're dealing with that, and then we just got done dealing with all our crazy ass storms and.
They weren't as bad as I thought they were gonna be. I
Right,
think the winter is gonna suck.
Winter's gonna blow.
I think winter's gonna be fucking snow out the ass based on how much rain we got over the past month and a half.
Oh yeah,
And,
how
see,
much
I'm just
moisture's in the
curious-
air, man?
I'm curious when winter's going to start.
Fall's already started.
But I mean,
October 1st.
no, okay. Technically, well,
No, I
it's
don't know
the-
I don't know when winter.
Well,
actually
fall-
starts.
It's
fall doesn't
October
technically-
21st, right?
No, it's September.
Is it September 21st?
Because it's every 3 months, so it's
Okay, yeah, you're
March,
right.
June, September, December.
You're right. But I'm saying last year it didn't snow until Christmas Eve.
Right. But
When's
this year
it going to snow this year?
It's gonna snow like
Halloween.
Depending on how cold it gets. I mean, it's supposed to hit almost 90 this week, and it's September.
Yeah, but it can snow at
but-
40 if there's
No,
enough, if the
100%.
atmosphere.
It's the moisture.
But at the same time, literally, though, last year, it didn't get cold enough. We had plenty of rain, but it didn't get cold enough to snow until Christmas.
Yeah.
It didn't rain.
But we
as
only
much as
had
it's
normal
rained
levels
this
of
year.
rain in the fall. We've already had shitloads of rain.
We're
We
at
have.
4.
Like,
Fall's already
It's
started.
one day.
I mean,
will
yeah,
do
it's
that.
going to be 90 this week,
Yes.
but it's already started.
But
I'm
that's
just saying.
3
one
or 4
day,
weeks
and
early.
at night it gets down to 59.
I'm just saying, over the last few years, it seems like winter has taken longer and longer to start snowing.
Yeah.
No, I agree
At
with
what
that.
point
but
will
I
it be
feel
next year before it starts snowing?
Right.
Right.
We
It's
were
been-
a week away last year.
It's
When are we
been,
gonna hit that?
it's been about, what? The last time I remember, an actual, good winter that wasn't just really fucking cold for no reason.
Oh,
A
shit.
few winters ago.
Awesome.
Where it didn't snow, it was just...
Oh God, they know where we're at now.
We've already mentioned Omaha
Yeah,
like
we
6 times.
we
yeah.
literally
So,
talk about Omaha
we're just in
all
the
time.
area. which is actually, I mentioned earlier, I was going to circle back to that whole thing. I want there to be a lot of snow this year. I think we're probably due. It's been 9 years since the last big one. So I think that it's probably time. I think my senior year of high school, we had 3 or 4 snow days in a row, and that's the last time that we had that many.
I've been saying it for the last 3 years. I want that big one where you can't leave your house kind of thing for a day or two.
I want it to be cold for a reason.
Yeah.
Not to be 30 below for no fucking reason.
Granted, if it happens on a Wednesday, I'll still make it over. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Wednesdays will still happen.
I'll borrow my wife's car.
I want at least one time this year to be able to call work because I literally cannot get to work.
Yeah.
Dustin will come pick you up.
No, I want it to be bad enough that Dustin can't leave his house.
That's true.
I want it to be bad enough that you and Anthony can't leave their house.
Yeah. I won't leave. I'm like, screw that, I ain't coming in.
Yeah. You're not going to make any money anyway.
Just because I have a truck, I don't care.
If my car gets stuck in the driveway, I ain't coming to work.
Yeah, hell no.
So, talking about being vague enough around like what your location is and more details about who you are, which has made me think about fucking changing shit about my Twitter, or at least, locking it down to be private, is the whole Dr. Disrespect thing. So regardless of, well, I don't know how much any of you know about the Twitch streamer.
I know who he is, and I know a little bit about him.
What does he do?
This guy he's a Twitch streamer. He has a persona that he does that is Dr. Disrespect. So think of it like he's a WWE character, basically. It's a character that he plays. It's an exaggerated version of himself.
Okay.
So he has a wig. He's got like a ridiculous. I actually don't know if the mustache is real or not, but he's got a whole getup, right?
Okay.
The glasses, the wig, everything. So a lot of people. There was some controversy with him a few months ago because he was cheating on his wife, and there was all sorts of other weird shit going on. But I think it was either yesterday or the day before, I came across a Reddit post about how he was live on Twitch streaming, and you hear gunshots like outside his house. Like somebody was shooting at his house because they figured out where he lived, and they had nothing better to do, I guess, than to shoot at some dude who streams on Twitch. Not to diminish what he does, because he has, he's got a pretty sizable following. I don't have numbers off the top of my head, but he's
let's not get shot at here.
He's one of the more well-known Twitch
streamers. This is where the weapons comes back into play. Someone's shooting at me, I'm going to shoot at him back.
Right, and I mean, I don't think, I'm under no disillusion that we are anywhere near the size of Dr. Disrespect, who...
We have 33 views on our last podcast. So.
33?
So
we gotta get to 40, guys.
I don't think we're...
And I know I was at least 5 of those.
Right.
So.
Well, until 300, it counts each view as unique. So,
really?
Yeah. After 300, it tries to keep track of if the same computer has viewed it multiple times. It doesn't count it as more views, which makes videos that make it to 1 billion views even more impressive. So... I don't know if they introduced that until after that happened, though. Anyway, some dude stalked him, found out where he lived, and shot up his house.
That's actually kind of funny.
It is, but it isn't. I don't think we're in any position to be in that kind of danger, at least not immediately. But I also want to try as much as possible to...
not be in that position ever.
Right. Exactly. So...
shit, your wife, my wife, they'd be like, you're done. Fucking cut it off, we're moving.
Yeah, we're out.
You're done.
No more. We're changing our names.
Yeah.
We don't know anybody anymore. You can't talk to any of the people you knew here. We're done.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a spread, but Ninja, who is probably the most popular Twitch streamer at the moment, 11.2 million followers. Dr. Disrespect has 2.7 million.
So how many subscribers, though? Can you see those numbers?
You can't see subscribers, I think, unless you subscribe. Total views, Ninja has 311 million.
Damn.
Dr. Disrespect... Hold on,
to put that in perspective, put it in perspective of a YouTube channel. If your YouTube channel has 2.6 million subscribers, you're doing pretty good for yourself.
Yeah.
If even 10% of those people, so 260,000 people, subscribe to you...
You're making some money.
You get... by default, Twitch takes half, but Dr. Disrespect is not a default Twitch streamer. He probably gets more than half. But let's just say half.
He has 91 million total views.
So if 10% of your followers are subscribing. They're giving you $5 a month. So they're giving you whatever that math boils down to, and then half of that.
Yep.
A month. So if it's 300, so let's round it up, 300,000 people, $5 a month. That's 6 million. 6 million, is that right? Yeah, dollars.
Yeah.
$6 million divided in half, $3 million. I mean, that's obviously a high number. But you're making a shitload of
Still
money.
seems really high. Wow.
Is,
no, you're right. Though.
Hold on, is that right? Is that math
3
right?
mil? For
300,000 times 5?
Well, so how many followers did I say?
No, I'm way off on that.
I said 11 million
I
followers,
doubled
right?
it. I multiplied it by 6. I didn't.
I said 11 million
Well,
followers, right?
For Ninja, yes.
For Ninja.
Yep.
Well, so for...
$1.5 million.
Okay, so we'll do Dr. Disrespect.
Yeah.
So, 2.7 million followers. And you said, what, maybe 10%? Maybe?
Yeah, so yeah, if you do 200...
Times 0.1. So that's 270,000. And what, half of $5? So 250 even? Puts it at $675,000
a month.
a month, generally.
Jesus Christ.
Assuming
What are
we're
we
making
doing?
And
we're
those
making
are
a lot of
very,
assumptions.
very rough estimates, yeah.
10% of your subscriber base is probably a lot.
That's probably high.
It's a lot, but $5 a month adds up quickly when you have 2.6 million people who follow you.
And that's the I always hear like, oh, why do people use Patreon? Like, what's
That's
the point
exactly
in
why.
getting $1 a month from people? Well, when you get $1 from 50 people, that's $50 a month.
Yeah.
If you get more
Not
than that,
everybody
that's
gives
just-
only $1.
Exactly.
Some of them give
So-
5 or whatever, and that's a good way to get around the YouTube copyright fuckery that's happening because they will strike your channel for anything. now.
Exactly. And so if you can, if you put
Well,
up
it's not
stuff
so much
without-
YouTube as it is people abusing YouTube system.
Yes.
But
so if you put
still.
stuff up without worrying about monetization and you just go based off of Patreon stuff, then that's its own thing. But
Right.
although that reminded me, side tangent, it was a Reddit thread that said, "What would you do, or what's your get rich quick scheme or something like that?" And it was take $1 out of every bank account in the world.
Yeah.
Why not?
Nobody's gonna notice $1 missing.
Nobody would care
millions
that
of
dollars.
bank accounts.
Yeah.
Well,
But guess what?
I mean, that's what they do to see if you're paying attention, then they take all your fucking money.
Well, but or it was like from $1 from every person in the world kind of thing, or every person in the U.S. And it's like
$300 million.
yeah,
Done.
Done.
and most of those people aren't going to miss that dollar.
Yeah.
Good, 90-some% of them. Aren't
And
gonna
I'd
miss
say that most people who
$1.
subscribe to Twitch or who do a Patreon, $5 a month is nothing to them.
No, not usually.
Maybe it's not nothing, but it's not enough to be like.
And
What
this
are we
might be a
doing,
little bit of
guys?
advertisement,
What
but
are we doing?
if you have Amazon Prime, you can get a free Twitch subscription.
Correct.
Because Twitch is owned by Amazon.
You can.
So if you have Amazon Prime, you can
So
subscribe
once
to
a
one
month you
person
can use your
once a
Prime
month for free.
subscription on a specific channel.
Yep.
So you can either use it on the same channel multiple times, or you can
over and
spread
over
it
and
out.
over, or you
Well,
can just
son of a
switch
bitch,
it.
boys. We're
But
way behind
That's
times.
the thing is that there are a lot of people that do, but a lot of people don't watch Twitch because you're watching one person sit down and play a video game live, and it's only while they're streaming generally. So
Oh.
if they're not currently doing it while you're watching,
I'd
then
probably fall asleep.
And
honestly.
if you don't love everything about that particular streamer's personality, because there's going to be a lot of dead time. There's going to be time where if they're streaming for 6 hours, they got to get up and go to the bathroom or get another drink or something. There's going to be time where they're not on screen.
Yep.
And there's going to be time where if they're playing a game, you got to wait for loading screens, you got to wait for this, that, or the other thing.
Right.
If the game decides that it doesn't want to run that day and it's just crashing all the time, or the
Their
stream
internet's
crashes,
not working.
or sometimes, Ray is. We use Ray a lot as an example just because he's accessible.
and we know who he is. And,
There have been times where he's been like, I can't stream today. Time Warner's fucking me.
yep,
Just can't do it.
internet provider.
No. Who's
Ray?
saying
Oh,
that?
Ray
He was
Reyes.
one of the. He was formerly
He
with
used to be an
Achievement
Achievement
Hunter.
Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he left to do Twitch streaming
Yeah.
full time.
So
And
yeah,
he-
there have been a couple times, and Tina, who is his significant other, I don't know what
I think
exactly
just girlfriend.
they are to each other, but definitely they've been dating for a while.
Yeah.
She also, I mean, when he can't stream, she can't stream because if
Yep.
he can't stream due to internet
They live
issues,
together,
then
so,
yeah, they're both fucked basically.
Damn.
So
But I think
and they
she
both
originally
they're living both of them. Their entire income is Twitch streaming.
But I think originally when he first started streaming, she was one of his moderators.
Yes.
On the Twitch channel.
Yes.
Like they had never met before. She was just a huge fan. And
followed him.
yeah, and she became a moderator, so she was like one of the people in charge of his channel, kind of thing. Like would watch the comments and all that kind of stuff. Yep. And they met up and they fell in love, like through that.
I couldn't watch people's comments. I mean, you'd have to on the YouTube channel, obviously.
A guy I work with
but
is
you
a
can
moderator.
Can you delete them? If
you can time people out, you can delete comments, you can ban people.
You can like blacklist words, so if somebody types a certain word in their comment, it just doesn't post it.
Okay.
Like
a coworker of mine is a moderator for one of the people who's part of the channel Streamer House. One of their individual Twitch channels. He is a moderator for. So he's not a moderator for Streamer House in general, but he's a moderator for one of the individual guys. And he actually hung out with him at TwitchCon in San Diego last year, I think.
When is TwitchCon?
He got invited out to hang out with the Streamer House guys, which was really sweet. It's like for all the shit that I've done with RTX and being a Guardian, like that is far cooler than anything I've done. So I was like, that's pretty impressive.
As somebody as big of a fan of Rooster Teeth as I am, everything that you've done at RTX is like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Well, Jordan
and I'm sitting over here just twiddling with them.
Jordan favorited the tweet where I said congratulations on the buying a house or whatever the fuck that they did. I think it was buying a house.
Did you ever send him a email or anything?
No, I never did. I never felt like it was appropriate. I just never could. I never could do it. So.
He was on a podcast.
I just was super awkward about it, and he was on a podcast recently, right after I thought about doing that.
Like very recently shortly after RTX.
Yeah,
and he had mentioned something about RTX, and I was like, "Oh, Chris could have been part of that."
Yeah. So maybe next year we'll see. It just wasn't in the cards this year.
Do you think I am going to actually try and go next year?
You should. You should try to go at least once.
Do want to
go. I'll just go to 6th Street.
It's only like blocked off from traffic at night, so you can't just be drinking in the day and wander around 6th Street.
I won't take my drink from bar to bar during the day.
If you go with, we would definitely go to 6th Street at some point.
Because yeah.
But I mean, when it was just me and my wife, I was going to 6th Street every night. So
yeah,
and we're not huge drinkers.
And God damn it, Leroy. We are, so.
Leroy! Right, hell yeah.
We're at an hour and 20 minutes, so we're good on this, and...
I think that's good for this week.
And that actually flowed really well. That was good. This one I might actually edit.
No, so. You better edit. I don't know if you really need to edit.
That one I might not.
We didn't really say anything bad.
We didn't say anything racist.
There was,
we didn't say anything.
Did you stop it already?
What?
Did you stop it already?
I haven't stopped it. No.
There was a couple of points where it was just like dead.
Oh yeah, any dead air usually comes.
And then we were talking about whatever was on the TV for a minute at another point.
Well, because some of your things on your TV...
No, I mean it's very and that's the thing. If you find any of those, just send me a text and say like whatever we mentioned kind of thing, I can easily find what wallpaper that is, and we can throw it up on the video kind of thing. And
so instead of it just being the broken chair every time, or the logo, the ace of spades.
We need a camera, boys.
Yeah, no, we do. We need to set up. We need to go to that storage unit. Is what we need to do. So
get that.
So I've seen a couple variations of this picture. What is this?
No Man's Sky.
Oh, okay. Because I've seen that diamond before.
Yeah.
It looks like The Sims.
It kind of does. Yeah.
Murmur.